man was talking about AI.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the greatest disaster on the internet. It is the Four Heads Podcast, already starting with some shenanigans. I'm Goldenboy. You got Bren, Sideshow, Reinforced. We're ready to talk about some things that don't really matter all that much in the world. Starting with, how's everyone's quarantine been so far?
Bro, okay, let me tell you. I
Not the way I think to expect a podcast.
holy shit, bro. This is it's been nightmarish, but also like I've gone back to being 14. Does that make sense?
No.
Sure. No, I mean, in your world,
You
how?
know, when was the last time you were addicted to a video game?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like
Oh,
full
I'm
on.
currently going through that right now.
2 years ago.
I'm talking you are sacrificing food and sleep.
Yeah, I'm going through that right now.
Right now?
Yeah, Warzone. I'm
Bro.
addicted, dude. I'm addicted.
I've rediscovered Path of Exile. I say rediscovered. I like to throw this around a lot, you know, for the clout. But I was one of the early adopters of Path of Exile. Played it back in 2011 when it first came out. You know, I was one of the first ones that saw
Sure.
the potential in the game. Played it
Right,
heavily
right.
for the first 4 years after that. So from 2011 to 2015, played it a lot. Played it
So
on
you're a
and off
Path of
since then.
Exile hipster, basically.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, fair.
But recently, Custo was like, "Oh, I'm playing Path of Exile," and I was like, "Oh, I could boot it up, see what's up." They've changed so much of the game. It is so much better now. It is like in a way better state, and I cannot stop thinking about it. Every waking moment of my life, I dream of clearing maps in Path of Exile. I dream of looking at my character in an isometric view, just one-shotting clusters of mobs around the map, darting around. It's absurd. I cannot stop thinking about it. When we did
It seems
the,
like you have a problem.
yeah, I would agree. I would completely agree. Like but I haven't felt like this since I was like 14 about a game where I just like wanted to play it non-stop. It's weird. It's like triggered that part of my brain.
What is it about it for you? Because I mean, when I was super addicted to World of Warcraft, it was all about like the world and like playing in a guild, and you know, I just loved sort of like the setting and just living in a world. Path of Exile, there's not a ton of that. It's mostly just like a grind game where you get
The world is pretty cool. It's just the fact that there's so much more content that I've played or that I haven't played yet. I'm catching up on.
fair.
And I already have like knowledge of how to play the game, but normally I follow a build, but this time I just fucking jumped in and I'm winging it.
Yeah.
And now I'm reaching a point where I'm like, oh god, I shouldn't have wung it.
But don't you
Should've
get
won it.
respect points or whatever? Because it's a huge talent tree for those that don't know.
Yeah, but
like,
they're
it's
super rare.
Oh,
The respect points are very rare. So if you fuck
I-
up your build, it's often faster to just start a new character. But I'm
you
not gonna do
haven't you
that.
haven't streamed it yet. Are you going to stream it?
Well, because I can't, because we don't have any fucking internet in the house, Golden Boy.
I
The
knew it
internet's-
was going to be that.
The internet's been playing up as well. Like, actually, yesterday I was so productive. I was just call me blue collar Andy because I built the gym. Me and Wyatt cleaned out the garage. We literally chucked everything out. We the entire thing. I kid you not. The layer of dust. Oh my god! I had to tie a t-shirt around my face because it was so dusty.
Damn.
And the layer of dust was like this thick. We
Whoa.
piled it up in a corner and we pushed it out the garage. It was ridiculous. And we aired out the garage, laid down the mats, built the home gym, and now we have the home gym set up in our garage. It's lovely.
pretty good.
oh my god, I'm so jealous. It's the one
Yeah.
thing I missed during this quarantine because they shut down the
Yeah.
gym in my facility. And I'm like, what the hell do I do now? I don't want to go and buy like kettle weights and have like kettlebells in my freaking
Yeah.
kitchen. Like that's I did like push-ups like before I went to the shower, but it's just like, what am I doing? Like it's just tragic. I miss the gym.
And
so
I've
hearing
been
this,
I've
I'm
been
just jealous.
struggling. I've been eating like shit. Like the other day, I just got done with a stream, and then Cynthia is like, "You want to watch Netflix and eat some potato chips?" And mind you, Cynthia, she doesn't get it. And my wife, for those of you guys who don't know, she's skinny and she'll forever be skinny. And nothing she does will change that. Meanwhile, if I have a chip, I gain 10 pounds. So like for that, it is mortally wounding for me because I'm now gaining so much weight, and I'm just gonna become fat and die, and that's it. So next time you guys see me, I'm gonna be like 20 pounds heavier, and I was doing so good too. I was doing so good, and now I have like, what am I supposed to do? Push-ups in my own home? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, the quarantine has
probably
really
should do
made me
push-ups.
reconsider like how to obtain food. Because I mean, we can
How
all
to
agree. No,
obtain
shut up!
food.
Stop laughing,
Yeah,
Josh.
didn't we have this thing about you
Yeah.
guys needing to cook and then laundry, and now this happened? This is
No,
exciting.
well,
Go on,
I mean,
Johnny.
I'm pretty good about cooking. Like when I want to cook, I can cook. Sure, yeah. But I mean, all four of us, I'm pretty sure I can say, didn't rely, but we ordered a lot of like takeout food, or maybe we
Sure.
like went to a place. Now I'm in a situation where 3 times a day I'm just like, okay, well, what is the time for? I saw Bren took a photo. He was at a grocery store and it was out of everything. And I knew that your favorite dish is like spaghetti bolognese or something. It's like chili or something, right? I literally have like 4 pounds of ground beef in my freezer. And so Bren's like out of ground beef, and I'm like, should I sell Bren some ground beef?
It's
That's
even worse.
Brent's
though,
toilet
like,
paper.
I've like switched over to Beyond Meat for beef.
Aye, it's
And
good.
Good luck getting that in this economy.
Really? I
What, you
thought,
can't get
there'd be
Nope.
like less demand in an apocalypse for Beyond Meat.
No, it doesn't matter what it is. They don't discriminate against what type of meats there are. They just
Oh no, they do, because in my supermarket the only thing that was available was bologna. So clearly the
Okay.
apocalypse wasn't enough for people to eat bologna.
I tell you though, I have not. I have been living like an absolute, and I use this word a lot, and maybe it loses impact, but
Yeah.
degenerate probably doesn't even cover it, because my laundry. If I'm to show you behind me, this fucking pile in the corner that's just been
dear.
slowly rising, this mountain of clothes that I have yet to wash because I don't want to go to Ralph's and buy detergent. Not only that, I've been ordering Chipotle almost every day. I've been playing at fucking 12 hours of Path of Exile. But to go back to the internet story, yeah, yesterday was terrible. Like it was, I realized we're hopping from, but I got to get this off my chest because Blue
Go for
Collar
it, Brent.
Andy
That's
over
what this
here.
is for. That's what this is
Blue
for.
collar Andy.
Fucking, I fixed up the gym, set that bad boy up. Then it was time for the internet. Now, apparently, I'm the only one in this house that has any sort of idea of how networking works. I mean, there's probably some people out there, but I
You
don't
go
think
out and
anybody
talk
could
to
be
people,
bothered to do
right?
it. No, like internet networking.
I'm so boring. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Baited. Just been
Oh, God.
absolutely
1-0. 1-0.
Absolutely 1-0 on the podcast. But we got the routers. Okay, so I've been talking to an IT guy, Blizzard IT guy, and he recommended some routers, and I'm like, fuck yeah, it is going to solve all our problems. Had to wait a couple of days for them to ship because they're going to ship them. They finally arrived today. We fucking tape 100 feet of Ethernet cables to the ceilings, put it over the kitchen into the boxes. So we got cables going all over the house because we didn't want to trust the cabling in the walls because the cabling in the walls is outdated. The cable in my wall here is Cat 4.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
How is that even possible? Like that must have been there since 2003. They just haven't
For
replaced it.
for anybody who's too young to remember how good Cat 4 cables are, basically, if you have a yogurt pot and a piece of string, it actually transfers data a little bit faster.
Oh my god. So you
The routers came.
okay, the routers came and you wired everything in your
Look,
house.
they're beefy routers, bro. They're
Beefy little big boys.
Like,
Beefy
like
little big boys.
but they're made for like people who aren't idiots. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm trying to set this bad boy up. You have to do so much shit. It's like you have to plug in the cable into port 0, plug it into your laptop. You have to go into the router settings. You have to upload the firmware. You have to restart it. Then while it's rebooting, you also have to change your DNS settings in your thing to 192.168.1.2. Then change the then you're gonna plug in the internet, the modem into port 1, and then your PC into port 2. And then why is my PC just turned off? Oh, there we go. But it took me so. And then when we did it, I set everything up.
You sound like XQC.
Yeah, you actually sound crazy.
Bro, it did not work. It didn't work. And I was like, why the fuck is it not working? 4 hours I spent troubleshooting. 4 hours troubleshooting this router. And in the end, the guy was like, oh, fuck. I'm so sorry. Just realized the routers I sent you don't have switch chips built in.
What does that
So-
mean for our audience?
A network switch distributes out the bandwidth to different to different devices.
Mhm.
The routers have 5 Ethernet ports, but only one of them works,
Mm.
and that's the main one. So I've had to
Wait,
plug that
why?
main. I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of this router is if it doesn't have a switch for it. You can do it's called a bridge, it's built-in software on the router, and it does it
Okay.
over software rather than hardware, but there's a performance hit, so we didn't want to do that. So what we've ended up doing is plugging in the switch that we had before into port 1
And then bridging that
everyone-
cable out. Yeah.
and everyone plugs into the switch. But the issue is now we bought 2 lines, we can only use one of them now because we've only got one switch. So we're like in this scenario where there's 8 of us on the one line. So today I've got to go buy a switch and set up the other router. And now
He just cut out.
there's going to be more problems. I know it. I already know it. I don't want to look at another router again. I don't want to look at another switch. It's networking is the worst. It is absolutely horrific.
I am so glad that you're going through this, because when I was going through this problem, you guys were making fun of me, talking about how my internet was trash, and it was. Don't get me wrong.
Making fun of you. We were supporting you the entire
No,
way.
you
we were very
we were
supportive.
there by
numbers
your
were
side.
totally making
We
fun
were
of me.
very supportive.
Yeah, we were.
Oh, fuck out of here. You weren't supportive. You guys made fun of my trash internet all the time. The stress that I was going through. I was stress eating. I was starting to gain more weight. Clearly, everything about me just leads to me getting fatter. I don't know how this works.
It's the most tragic thing. Internet issues. It really is the most tragic thing.
Yeah,
I
because it is completely out of your power.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I had not regular internet issues. I was pretty fortunate in that I had fiber, but at one point in my childhood, I was like 15 or 14 or something. They were like, "Oh, you're staying up too late. Like, you can't do this." So they put a timer on the router. So
the absolute bastards.
Yeah.
Oh, the swine. No,
Yep.
they didn't.
So every weekday, 10 p.m., internet cut out. And I was rebellious at this time. I was like 15. Some days I go down to the basement, and I just unplug the timer, and I just be like, "Screw you guys."
Ooh, you rebel.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I
you
was
naughty little rebel.
Yeah, and I got yelled at. Didn't work.
You got yelled
So,
at. Your mama would have beat my ass, bro.
So okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay,
She would have been
sorry.
like, "You did what? Let me get the belt right now." And then she'll come around with the belt swinging.
the bell.
She'll start saying some prayer in Spanish.
It's
and she'll
Overwatch
start saying,
time.
I'm only doing this because I love you, and that's my mom.
Did
Wow,
you
that's
believe
a
that?
lie.
Did you believe that during the belting?
You know, years later, my mom does love me, I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
at the time, I would tell you right now, she was the devil. So that was. So your mom just yelled at you. Okay.
Yeah,
go
you
on.
just yelled at me. Yeah, but I couldn't go on just disconnecting the timer every night because it just got like tiring or whatever. So I found out that I could plug my phone into my computer and use the internet connection on my phone.
What year was this?
Yeah,
This
was
was
this
like
like
20
in 2015 or something?
Maybe it was like 12 or 13. Maybe I was playing
You're a
Wrath of the Lich
child.
King.
Jesus.
Wrath
You're
of the
a
Lich King. I was playing
child.
Wrath of the Lich King. I remember this.
Dear God, I give up.
And it was just
boomer.
like when they released like internet or like 3G or whatever on the phones.
I don't want Johnny, man.
No, just 3G.
I
Just
remember
3G.
they had just come out with the
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah. So back then, phone companies, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna charge people for the phone calls they make and for the text they send," because like that was the big thing, whatever. And then they released 3G, and they did a complete 180, and they were like, "Oh, actually, we're just gonna charge customers for the 3G usage, and you have like unlimited text, unlimited calls, whatever." But before that point, I signed this like deal with my phone company that I had unlimited internet. So after 10 p.m., I just log on and just sit on my phone internet for like 4 hours every day. And it was pretty good because it was 3G, right? Like, it's pretty doable. I mean, you get like
And it
50
worked.
to 100 ping. Yeah, on like World of Warcraft.
yeah.
And it worked pretty good. And so my mom, like a year later, walks into the phone store and it's like, hey, I'm just like looking up on like my kid's like phone company or whatever, or like bill or whatever. Maybe we should update it or like renew it or whatever. But I had free internet at the time, so this guy just pulled up like the phone bill I had been using. It's just like, oh, your son's been using like terabytes of internet on his phone. And he was like fucking amazed that someone had been able to just like because I had illegally downloaded movies and games and all of that. Yeah, so it was just unlimited amounts of like terabytes of internet, and I just circumvented all of that.
And you
time
never got data capped? You never got capped?
No,
on
I never
data?
got data capped. No, because back then there were no like data caps, because they didn't charge for it. They were just like, hey, have free 3G, whatever. So yeah, your internet story reminded me of that epic story of mine.
Funny.
Yeah,
that's so funny, dude. It just feels like that was yesterday. Well, literally.
Well, what do you mean yesterday? Okay, no. I lived in my fishing village. Life was different. Okay, I've come far away. Don't you dare.
Fair enough.
Life's different. Yeah.
Well, speaking of faraway lands,
I do miss
man died
Fishing,
in
though.
Florida.
Wow, we're gone straight into it.
Well, unfortunately, a man passed away in Florida from the coronavirus. We're going to talk about the coronavirus real fast because this story was pretty wild. So a man from Glendora, California, I want to say, 34 years old, dies from the coronavirus. But apparently, your boy decided he had to go to Disney World. And he was one of the people that were there just having a dandy old time at Disney World. And Lord knows how many else people this dude infected. We'll maybe find out. Who knows?
That's a classic.
According to TMZ.
Yeah. According to TMZ.
I always go to TMZ for my coronavirus advice.
Why did you want to talk about this?
Well, I wanted to talk about this because this is connected to something that came out today, which, a bunch of us got together. This was actually headed up by Bryce Blum, in case you guys don't know him, the esports lawyer, really, really cool guy. And he hit me up and
oh my,
like, what happened?
I did it. So, okay, I need to preface it. So, Joshua is not at his typical desktop, so he's usually the one recording the podcast and doing all the things.
What did you do?
But now I'm in charge because he's using his laptop and he doesn't have the producer thing set up or whatever. So this time I'm in charge, and I'm a bit of an amateur. I didn't set up all the things, so I pressed on like the scene for like the web browser thing. And I didn't have our web camera set up, so it looked a bit all over the place. But they saw the article. Go on, Goldenboy. You were talking about Bryce. Everything else okay. Everything's fine. Crunch time.
So, yes, crunch time. So crunch time. Very familiar. So basically, this idea came about. Bryce Blum had put on Twitter. He wanted to, do something, just something fun, just trying to lift people's spirits and whatnot. And I think it was a pretty awesome idea, so that's why I jumped in on it. He asked me to make a video, and it was myself along with like Castro from FIFA, Fallen from CS, Shocks from League of Legends, Nick 830 from Fortnite, Voyboy, JCap, Chief Pat, like so many people from the industry all got together to do this fun video. It was nice. I think it was fantastic. Obviously, I'm going to say this, and if you want to check it out, you can go to gamersvscovid19.com. It's just a pledge, just so that, if you can, I'm going to be very clear here. If you can stay indoors and play video games. That's basically the whole point of it. It's meant to just be fun, lift spirits, make people smile. As of right now, 5,300 or around 5,400 people have pledged, which is kind of dope. And that's really what it's all about. Obviously, because it's the internet, people are taking it in the completely wrong way, calling everyone entitled and privileged. And that wasn't the point of it, because if you actually used your eyes and ears and watched a video, you can tell that everyone was saying that, like, to those people who have to go out there and work for the families, work for their, communities and all that stuff. You guys are out there kicking all the ass. You guys are the real heroes that we certainly do not deserve.
I mean, it's all about priorities, right? Because there are things the four of us, still have to do, okay? Like, we're talking about, like, oh, we're just going to game all day. We're in quarantine. We're isolated, whatever. But we still have to do shit. Like sometimes we might have to do like a work kind of thing. Sometimes you might have to go to like CVS or like the grocery store. It's like you can't prevent that 100%. Okay, sometimes you just have to do something. So we understand, like, or I'm not gonna say we. I understand that sometimes you cannot stay home and you actually have to go and do something for your life. What you shouldn't do is go to like bars and clubs and don't care and say like I'm not in a risk zone. Exactly, go to the beach in Florida. I mean, that was unbelievable. Like those are the things that maybe for a month or two, maybe stop with the alcohol. At least outside of your home, you can probably drink at home. I got plenty of wine. I'm ready. I got Corona beers. It's gonna be great. I'm by myself right now. It's depressing. But just don't drink outside in like big gatherings for a while. And I want to add onto that. I think it's hitting everyone in like waves, because if you go back like a month, some people were like, I mean, very few people were like, holy shit, it's gonna be like a pandemic. A week ago, I'm pretty sure most people in the States were just like, this might happen, and like we just sort of went about as, you know, nothing happened. And then over a period of like 3 days, just like it went to like holy shit level. You actually can't go to meet your friends in like a group of 5 to 10 people, and shit just flipped. So I think it's hitting everyone in waves, and just day by day, more and more people are becoming aware that it's actually a pandemic and actually
It's
dangerous.
interesting. Yeah, I feel like I've I don't know. I feel like
Okay.
Sir,
I've lost
Get
the
there.
ability
Hello?
to talk.
What am I trying to say?
are you okay?
I feel like I grasped the situation sooner than most people. I don't want to say that because it sounds like, oh, I'm so five-head. I grasped it before
Yeah,
anybody
dude,
else
you
did.
grasp you grasp Path of Exile, you know,
Yeah,
before
But,
everyone else
but,
too.
but I think me being in Korea and Japan, where it was kicking off
Yeah.
beforehand, helped hammer home the significance of like the situation, I guess, because it was like Korea was actually doing very well until the cult spread it to everybody, and I left by that point. But Japan was not doing very well with it, and they were on the tipping point of about to be blown up. And Japan apparently as well, still not doing very well with it. Japan have a thing in place where if you get tested positive for coronavirus, you have to be hospitalized. So people are intentionally not getting tested. They've only tested 16,000 people in Japan. So
That's
so-
counterproductive.
Yep.
Damn.
So Japan is really not dealing with it very well at all compared to other countries. But in the US, I mean, the way this thing spreads, so viruses they have. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, Josh. It's like the R rating. It's like sometimes it's written in papers as R0, but the R, the infection rate of a disease.
I thought you
And-
meant some viruses were 18 plus.
No, no.
Kids
But
aren't allowed to get them.
But the coronavirus, the early data from what I was reading. Now, this is a while ago. This is a study done on it's like the Diamond Princess cruise ship, I think.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of that data, I think you might need to take it with a grain of salt. But this is basically what they were doing from the Chinese data and the data from that cruise ship. But they found that the infection rate was around like 2.2 compared to the flu, the common seasonal flu, which is like 1.3, 1.4. So it's significantly more infectious than the flu.
And that's how many people on average a single person
you infect. Yes, it's how many people.
Wait, do they have a number?
Infect. Yeah, it's like around 2.2, but they're still getting the proper number. Some data suggests that it might be as high as 3. Some lowest is 2. Is what they think. So somewhere between those numbers. But that's kind of crazy. Like if you have coronavirus, then the infection rate is like if you just go. I imagine if you go about your normal life, you spread it to 2 people, no matter what.
Yeah.
It's wild data. The thing that for me was, you know, I don't want to obviously bring politics into this because people are just gonna flip out. I've learned that lesson on Twitter. I'll never cross that bridge again. But I will say that, you know, you had Trump going around calling this thing a hoax, for like the longest time. Never forget that. Called it a
Yeah.
hoax. And then now he had to take it seriously because you had a lot of health experts, people with actual education, go to him and say, "Yeah, you can't keep doing that. This is a big deal." So
Yeah.
it does bother me. It like really frustrates me that you have so many people that like even people that responded to that tweet, they're like, "This is just a flu," and it's like, no, it's not. It's not.
Even if
just
it was a
flu.
flu, that's double flu.
Yeah,
That's
like-
really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even if it, and I get it, the flu does kill a lot of people per year, and that's not disputed information. It's just that the way that this thing spreads is very different in comparison to the way that the flu spreads.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that I can go after, and that's just the reality of it, man. It's not fear mongering. It's just the fucking truth.
Yeah, and it's not like he didn't have access to this information.
100%
So
did.
I've followed like all of the press conferences he's made very closely, because I've been very interested by the stock market and economy the past like week or so. And if you go back and look at the stock market, like what's his name, Jeff Bezos, he sold like pretty much all of his Amazon stock, like almost at the top. And then you had someone like Bob Iger, who's been like the Disney CEO for like 13 years, just like walk out, like days after the Disney stock went down for a little bit. And the reason is because a lot of these incredibly wealthy and important people, they have like people around them who inform them about political issues, world politics, and all kinds of stuff, So obviously, if you're Jeff Bezos, you have someone like an advisor, someone tell you like, hey, this is what's going down in China. This might affect shit globally. And Jeff Bezos is like, well, I guess it's time to like sell my stock. I'm just saying this just to say that if you're as powerful as like the president of the United States, you can be sure that there are people in your system that are completely aware of the dangers of a pandemic disease and are completely informed. Like they work full time about pandemic diseases and viruses and shit. Yeah. And they will let you know if something just like pops up on the radar. Like 50 people infected in Wuhan with this virus. Someone's gonna know about it and be able to tell you that information. So just denying it, it's not like he didn't have access to that information. It's just like acted slow or whatever.
Too, he did close down the pandemic response department, I believe.
That was a while back.
Right?
Yeah, he closed that down in 2018, saying that they didn't really need it, which is like,
I mean,
so there's been conflicting
that's a hard
sources
thing to judge, though, isn't it? I mean, that with hindsight, I mean, obviously you're done goofed, but that's the kind of thing where it's very low probability, very high risk.
Is it though in this day and age when like shit keeps happening? You know?
I think so.
Like,
I mean, we
like
haven't
the
seen something like
environment
this before.
But the environment continues to take a nosedive. Like, is it really? I don't know. I don't think it was really that far fetched that something, not maybe of this nature, but something could create a global frenzy, if you will. I mean,
if you go back and check, it's like there's always going to be like quote unquote black swans, as they call them. Like you had the .com bubble in like early 2000s. You had SARS. We had Ebola. Like once in a while, this kind of shit just pops up, and you gotta be ready for it. It's like, okay, after the .com bubble, you can't be like, oh, we'll never have like a recession ever again. And like after Ebola, you can't be like, oh, we'll never have like a pandemic disease ever again. It's like this shit pops up and you gotta be ready for it. So it's like, I will say about the Trump thing, about removing the council or whatever you call it. So I don't ever want to I don't want to, defend President Trump in any way, but apparently that was, I don't know if that was his decision to remove that. Apparently there were like different sources who were like someone else in his department did it, and he didn't sign off on it. But I don't know. But there are conflicting sources about that.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, the response could have been way better, and the information was definitely there for them to know and prepare early. but they just didn't. So I don't
Yeah.
know. How
it's
the entire
rough.
thing is unfolded is bizarre, and it's unreal. That I walked to the nearby grocery store the other day, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. It felt like sci-fi. It was unreal. Like everything was empty. There were no potatoes, no onions. They were almost like out of meats. But it's just like empty shelves. You're like, when does this happen? When is it day after day for days
you
in a
know
row?
what's
just
wild?
empty shelves. Like it's unbelievable. I couldn't
What's
believe
wild
it.
about this shit is all you got to do. Like maybe I'm thinking of this like in wrong with the wrong mindset, but like the panic buying was just, in my opinion, like super unnecessary.
Oh, completely.
It wasn't like institutions were closing down. Like we were still generating food. We were still generating product. Like this isn't. I just ordered an SSD from Newegg. Like it's not like the everything's falling apart. But what happens is you get a few people go to the supermarket. They're reading about this thing. And when I went last week, I knew that this was going to happen. I told my wife, I was like, babe, we should just get two big things of chicken, like chicken breasts, like the family size ones, and we'll just freeze it and we'll leave it in there and we'll have it for the next like 2 weeks or whatever. And she's like, no, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah,
And
but you don't want to
then-
go to the store every day, You want to
no,
stock up.
and I get that, but also if you're just smart about how you shop, like you can still save money and time. Like, listen, I grew up extremely poor, and I know how to make a family pack of drumsticks last for a very long time. Okay,
Do you? Because
make some
I've
soups?
I've heard
can make-
about your eating habits, and from the sound of it, stress eating. You make a pack of drumsticks last about 2
Oh,
nights.
God,
I was about
you're
to say that.
You're such a turd. No, but real talk though, like that was something that me and my mom, like we and my brother, we
Hold
didn't
up, though.
have money.
How do you make it last? What
Well,
are you,
you've
Jesus
seen
Christ?
you've seen the family packs.
What are you doing? You splitting up the bread and fish amongst the masses? Like, how are you
No,
making these
you
drums?
freaking.
How are you making these drumsticks last?
Oh, you smooth brain. No, not at all. I'm just saying that like you don't OD. Like we didn't have money to go out there
don't
and
OD.
buy.
You don't
shit
OD
every
your
single day.
drumsticks.
All right, sorry. Continue the story. I got a bit to say. Now. I got to add on to this.
We just didn't have enough. We just didn't have enough money, and and my mom was a single mom, and she was living off food stamps, and we didn't have enough money to go out there and buy shit every single day.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
to go out there and buy
Dude, my
like, white
childhood,
meat, chicken and shit.
bro, I was living off instant ramen. It's like my childhood. Like, I'd
Yeah.
come home from school, I'd have, what did I used to have? I used to have some Marmite on toast, and then maybe some like instant ramen with like a little bit of. Why is Josh's camera going green?
It hasn't.
Oh,
is
it
this-
just hasn't for me.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh well.
Are
it's
you
messing up
turning
on my
into
end.
the Incredible Hulk?
you
It's
look like you're
possible,
turning.
yeah.
You look like you're turning into the whole.
Are you getting
Yeah.
mad about this conversation?
Yeah.
Bro, let me.
Or
what
do you
was I
have the
gonna say?
corona? Bigger
Oh
one.
god, that was it. Holy moly! I have been avoiding the shops because I don't want to deal with people. Right? I don't want to be out at this in
That's
this
fair.
climate
I get
that
it.
much. But it's getting to the point where I have to shop. I gotta buy laundry detergent. I gotta buy groceries. I have to buy semen. I've been rationing my frozen chili meals. I got 3 of them left, baby, and they're going to the end. They're gonna still be there in August 2020. But Kurt and Wyatt went to the shops yesterday,
Mm.
and they got back in and they did their shopping, and they were telling me, oh, there was a queue outside, and Kurt was in the
Yeah.
queue and he was listening in. So, firstly, the shop is limiting the amount of people that are allowed in. It's like 25 people are allowed in at one time in the shop,
Yeah.
in the store. But that means you've got these queues of people that are shoulder to shoulder outside. Very counterproductive. That's my first issue. But this is going to tilt all of you in this call right now.
Okay.
I refuse to
Everyone-
be tilted.
Everyone in this queue was over the age of 50 at least. Kurt was the only young person there.
Yeah.
And Kurt was telling me he was listening to the conversations, and they were saying, coronavirus, well, better stockpile, gotta stockpile up, gotta buy everything. And they've all got shopping carts, and their one goal is to go into this store and just buy as much as humanly possible. Like, Gotta stockpile it up. And then they start talking about the political situation where basically because the economy's about to crash and the US doesn't have a
About
welfare
to.
system. Because the US has a fucking terrible welfare system, you have to resort to injecting cash into per person. So I think they're talking about giving $1,000 per person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. for
Which
like
would
2
be
months or something.
which would help. Like it would help. A lot of people don't have jobs right now. There's like 18% of Americans have had their hours reduced or are out of work now because of the coronavirus.
And the projections are 20% unemployment potentially.
Yeah. So it would definitely help, and it's necessary. But the boomers in this line were saying they were there. They're talking about stockpiling. They're shoulder to shoulder. They're fucking tongue kissing or some shit. I don't know. Bro. But they're saying $1,000. Well, that isn't gonna help me. Like, who's that gonna help? These people, they live in this suburban American bubble with their white picket fences and their stockpiling of food and fucking Downton Abbey on TV. That's all they know. They have no concept of wider America. It blew my mind wide open because there exist people in this world that actually do not exist past their neighborhood. Like that is their world in their neighborhood. They could not imagine how $1,000 could help an individual. They couldn't imagine it. Like it.
Like, is it the solution? It's not the, is as you said, it's not the solution, but it helps, right?
Yeah.
And people just don't realize that, man. Like, yeah, a couple of my friends, like their hours got reduced. Luckily, like 2 of them are able to work from home. One of them works remotely already, so he was all right. But my other friend, like his hours got reduced completely. And that's just rough for him. It's really, really tough. So yeah, he's all like, hell yeah, dude, I need this. Like, this is how we're gonna get by and be able to just keep the roof over our heads.
Earliest I heard was
it's
April
scary.
6th, so that's like 2 weeks away.
Yeah, and then
And
who
who
knows
knows what it's gonna look like in 2 weeks?
Do I get it even though I'm not American?
No.
Why not?
I think you
You're
get
not
like
an
a
American citizen.
Oh, okay.
Why not?
Actually, I don't know. I think if you are.
You're an alien resident.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it.
Oh, okay, never mind. I'll get it though. I'll let you know how my $1,000.
The thing that's, I mean, a pandemic is obviously the worst, the best thing to showcase this. Worst, best, whatever word you want to use, but it highlights it the most how horrific a system that ties healthcare access to employment is. I mean, can you think of a worse system? Can you even come up with a worse system for keeping the poorest people healthy? How have they done this? And everyone's like, yeah, it's fine. That's America, bitch. That's how it's always done. It's like, what are you talking about? Look how it's affected here, like all of these people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just having their hours completely reduced as well. So they can be in a situation where they can't even file for unemployment.
I want to hear
just
you rant
running
about
off.
this for like
I
10
mean,
minutes.
it's just-
Well, but it's just the exact same problem that there has always been, except in the worst case scenario.
yeah.
Isn't it? I
Oh,
mean,
you
it's
want-
just
You want to hear some fucked up
outrageous.
shit? I'll tell you something messed up. My boy was telling me that his job hired 2 new people, okay, right before everything started to hit the fan. All right. And this is going to tilt you off the face of planet Earth. They hired 2 new people. Those people put in their 2 weeks of the job. This starts happening. They reach out to those 2 people and say, sorry, we can't hire you. Unfortunately, we have to cut back hours. So those people lost their jobs, lost their insurance because they applied for a job, got the job. Then the job got taken away from them, filed in their 2 weeks notice, followed protocol as was required of them. And now they have no work.
I mean, it's happening. in the
And they
UK
have
as
no
well.
health insurance. They have no health insurance.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
it's tied to your freaking
But-
job.
Isn't this just? I mean, it's just the root of the problem is like America these days is built like a lot of countries are built to protect the people in terms of just employment. Like France has ridiculous labor laws because they don't want them rising up and chopping the heads off of politicians again. With guillotines. Vive la France, all
Jesus.
that stuff. Let them eat cake, blah blah blah. But
I had
the-
some great cake actually this week. I've been eating a lot of cake.
I mean, is that a?
Okay. Is that a
No, I've
sexual
just actually been
euphemism,
eating
or-
cake.
I
No,
was like,
that's
is
just
that
been.
an analogy for 7 hours. Or like,
I don't want to know.
Whoa, where you
You're-
going? We don't want to
you
know,
don't-
Josh. Give it to yourself. But
don't
the
I mean, there's no
Tell.
bread on the shelves, is there? So I've
America,
been eating cake.
I did see people hoarding cake though when I was in.
No,
Oh my
you
God,
didn't.
I lost
no,
my
you
mind
didn't.
at
No
this.
one's
Yeah.
been hoarding cake.
Oh my God, people
I'm not joking,
hoard
bro.
perishables. Like if you're like, oh, there's a pandemic going on, I'm just gonna buy like 50 pounds of fruit. Like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah, no, seriously, no, Johnny. It's like it doesn't make any sense.
yeah. So I mean, everyone's just buying these perishables, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I got a difference.
Oh God, he's gonna show it for our audio listeners. Johnny's gonna get up and show us something.
You know what doesn't go bad, and it's incredibly caloric dense, and you could live on forever.
Protein
Cheese.
Yeah,
Cheese.
I've just
Ooh,
been
that's
eating
good.
cheese. Just like I'm
Just
just been
living off
eating
cheese.
slices of cheese, dude. They're
Yo,
cheap.
Johnny's breath must
Dude,
be mad funky,
dude,
bro.
they're like half of this. Like this entire piece was like less than $5, dude. And it just
Yeah, and also the people that are lactose intolerant don't have to worry about shitting themselves because there's nobody else in your house to be able to see. So,
That's true.
so just eat cheese and sit on the toilet, guys.
No, I don't eat just cheese, but it's an efficient way, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Cheese,
very efficient.
milk, rotted milk.
No, but
other
like
shit.
people are freaking out in the stores, and they're like, okay, they're out of potatoes, they're out of this fruit thingy. I have to settle for like the frozen sardines and just heat them up in the oven. It's just like, no, dude, just buy cheese. Like, I walked into a Whole Foods, and there was so much cheese available that I was like, I could live on this for like years.
Yeah.
Mm.
Tell you what, you could also live off honey.
This
Sir?
sounds like terrible nutritional advice.
Cheese and honey, they last forever. If you're in a tricky scenario, you're good for the apocalypse. Just eat that and that alone.
Yeah.
Sounds
Fair.
great.
You
Yeah,
might
that's-
die within 2 weeks, but
Hey, I mean, if the apocalypse don't get you, the honey
Yep.
will.
the honey
I-
will.
I guess. So
A lot
What
of
was
the
I gonna
people-
say? I was gonna say something.
Well,
Well,
we were having a conversation about the US healthcare system, right?
Oh,
a lot
yes.
of the
Because-
people online. Oh, go on then, Bren.
I was just
Go.
gonna say that. I mean, it's so evident now as well, increasingly evident how the system in the US is built to just protect corporations and not people. Like it's the
Yeah.
complete opposite of the system of so many different countries.
Yeah.
Like there's no good welfare system in place. People like surely it should be the responsibility of the country, the government, to protect its people and ensure that they have
Yeah.
a good quality of life.
you would think there, Bren. You
But
would think.
but it's just so far in the other direction. Like when I'm not going to get political, but a recent example
We're way
screams in my
past that
mind
point.
Yeah,
is when someone was telling me Trump was doing one of the speeches about coronavirus, and he started thanking the CEOs of the supermarket chains.
oh my, I was watching the stock market go up.
Instead
didn't-
of thanking the employee,
I didn't watch it,
people
but he was thanking the CEOs, and it was like, but I was thinking, why the fuck would you thank the CEOs? Like they're making bank off of this entire crisis. It's like they haven't set up these safety nets, you know. Like
you know why he did it?
Because he's boys with them. I don't know.
No. So he pumped the stock market. So the
Yeah.
stock market had been going down for so long. It had been down like
Ah.
20, 30%, whatever. It's just been going down. And his reputation is so much about the performance of the stock market. It's like
of the economy.
the
yeah,
economy
tied
like,
to
is
it.
like doing great. So he scheduled this press conference purposefully 30 minutes before the stock market closed on a Friday, okay, going into the weekend. So he gets all of these companies up and he makes sure to name drop all of these companies. So he goes like Target, CVS, Google, and he just one by one, Walgreens, just one by one. And I was watching the stock market just go up into the close, and it pumped like 10% in like the last yeah. No shit, dude. You can go to his Twitter, and just like a week ago, he's like the greatest day of the stock market in American history, because it went up like 1,000 points in like 30 minutes because he just name dropped all of these companies. And
Why would that mean
then
that people buy stocks?
even worse, okay? So he's watching all of these stock market TV shows, right? Where they go over like the stock market and they're like, this price is going down, this is where you might buy, well, like whatever, it's on TV. People love that shit. I don't know if it was him or like one of his staff members or whatever, but they print out the stock market of the day, like the price going up and down or whatever. They print out a paper of that chart. He signs it, autographs it, and sends it to the TV. So they get a sheet of paper with the stock market and his autograph on it, which is like, I was president in the like biggest pump of the stock market in American history. So it was all scheduled. It had nothing to do with the companies or whatever. It was just to pump the stock market. And it's just, I don't even know how to put words on it. It was never about the companies. It was never about the medicine or the virus or whatever. It was all about just the stock market going up.
Why would him name dropping mean that people buy stocks?
Because, okay, so imagine, like, we got a pandemic, right? And everyone's freaking out about the virus. They want a vaccine, they want more tests, whatever. Trump goes on TV and says, hey, Walgreens and Target are helping us get tests. They're helping you guys out. They're getting vaccines. And so people are like, holy shit. It's like, if Target and Walgreens or whatever are going to be like the people helping us in this pandemic, they just buy the stock and it just goes up. He went on TV and was, because the price of oil, crude oil, had gone down like 40% in like a matter of days. And Trump goes on TV and he says, yeah, the US government, we're going to buy $1 billion of crude oil at the moment because it's so cheap, and we're going to stock up. We're going to fill up the storage unit or like the government or whatever with oil. We're going to buy so much oil just so the oil price would go up, and people would be like, oh, the US government is buying oil. I should buy oil too before it gets more expensive and quantity goes down. So like, I've been following this the past week and I'm just blown away. Okay, I don't even understand half of it because I never took a degree in finance or anything, but like the amount of like fucking crisis going on in the stock market is unbelievable. It's like 2008 level shit, and you guys have no idea how unbelievable this is.
Well, thankfully we're not quite there yet.
I'm just freaking out. But
it dropped significantly. I mean, you know, I've been fortunate enough to be able to work hard and save my money, and then, you know, me and my wife finally decided to invest and make our money work for us, as people have told us in the past. Not the best time to do it, but it's okay. And it's not quite where 2000. I mean, the crash of 2008 was like, just, that shit was crazy. And then, you know, Obama became president, and then kind of injected and it started to grow the stock market again, right? So yeah, it's definitely it's a little it's rough, but it doesn't, you know, the thing is like that kind of stuff though, and what frustrates me about it is that stuff doesn't help like the everyday person, you know. That doesn't help someone, you know, like my friend who just needs to put food on the table and pay rent. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. But you know, it is what it is. Obviously, you know, this is something that will continue to develop. The whole world's covering it. Everyone's talking about it. We can beat this drum down. We spend a significant amount of time, way more time than I had planned, talking about it.
Well, it's pretty relevant, wouldn't you say?
It is. I know, but you know what it is too. Like, I know people also want to get away from it, right? And I think
that's true. That's true.
At the very least, though, we're 4 idiots that have the capability of, at the very least, frustrating you to the point where you're just like, oh, this is good. This is dumb content, and hopefully we achieve that goal. Speaking of dumb, Marvel decided to do something weird recently.
You want me to show this trailer?
Yeah, go ahead and show the trailer. So there is a comic book line called The New Warriors, and you know, it's I believe it's like Nova's in there and a few other notable superheroes. It's a you know, it's just a team up, right, of Marvel characters. That's it, plain and simple.
Oh, this like ratio looks pretty bad.
Daniel Kibblesmith,
Yeah,
and I am
so
the
I haven't
writer
even seen
of
that
New-
yet. What is it at right now?
2,000 likes, 64,000 dislikes.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad. So to kind of give some light onto this, so the New Warriors is a comic book line that features characters like Firestar, Marvel Boy, Namorita, Nova, Speedball.
Is it bad that I have never heard of any of these?
I have no idea.
Nova is someone you might have seen
I'm
or
gonna be
heard
real.
of.
What are we talking about?
Superheroes, comic books.
Superheroes.
Yeah. Bren, where have you been?
I don't know.
That's fine. Moving forward.
Yeah.
So anyway, but you'll enjoy this. So what they decided to do was reinvigorate the new warriors and have the old new warriors, quote unquote, train the new generation of new warriors. And thus they introduced new characters to the Marvel comic book universe. Unfortunately, those characters are just not particularly good, and not for the reasons that you may think of. So I'm gonna try and see if I can find this here because some of them, like the powers, are legitimately like just confusing.
Pepega.
For example, so two of the characters on there, it's and these are their real names. Okay, is Snowflake and Safe Space are two of the characters. So now you see where this is going.
What?
I mean, it's unreal, isn't it?
Sorry,
It's actually
what?
unreal.
Yeah. So Unreal, or sorry, so Safe Space and Snowflake are two of the characters. They also came up with a character named Trailblazer, another one named B Negative, and then another hero I forget. Oh, called Screen Time. I am just at a loss for words as to like the origins of these characters because legitimately it's not good. Like just the idea of the heroes are simply like not good. So let me go ahead and read to you. This is the real description for Screen Time. All right, I'm going to put this in the doc so that you guys can also read along with me and equally get as frustrated. This is the real description for Screen Time. A meme-obsessed super teen whose brain became connected to the
Turn it
internet.
off.
Hold on. It gets better. It gets better. After becoming exposed to his grandfather's experimental internet gas. Now he can see
internet gas?
Now he can see augmented reality and real-time maps and can instantly Google any fact. Does this make him effectively a genius? He sure acts like it does. So, besides the fact that this character is just the most uninspiring character. Like, okay, the idea of a person being connected to the internet is a cool superhero concept. Like, I actually do kind of like that idea. But the fact that he got exposed to experimental internet gas. What in the actual fuck? And then and then the problem that I have with this is that the designs are so uninspired.
They're so garbage.
The outfits look terrible.
Bro,
like,
it looks like they copied it from Ben 10 for Screen Time.
Bro,
like,
that's what I'm saying.
Like, I've only just realized what's going on here. Snowflake and Safe Space.
Oh yeah,
this is like an Onion article.
It really is.
Yeah.
What is this?
So I became aware of this because Semler had posted it in one of our group chats, and I went and checked out the YouTube channel that covered the video, and I thought the YouTube channel was like an idiot and prick, so I went and looked further into some more details of it. And I think that like just the overall idea, like I get it, but you couldn't have missed the mark further than this.
Can we explain what the overall idea was as well? Because the overall idea is
to be inclusive.
Well, it's not just inclusive though. The overall idea was the guy in the interview says, when I used to read these comic books, I thought they were too cool for me. So and the guy who was doing the kind of React Andy thing to it was like, what the hell? I thought the comic books were supposed to be cool. Like you're supposed to think, oh, they're so cool, I wish I was like them, or to escape in some way from your uncool life by living through the comic book hero. But I can also see a world where some people they fail to identify with heroes that are cool and can adapt to any circumstance and stuff.
And that's why we have you on the show.
Well, that's why you have heroes though, like Spider-Man, right? Because Spider-Man is just a goofy kid that's had responsibility thrust upon him. It's a bit more of a relatable character. But here they've tried to be like, hey, what if like people who really are mega uncool were just superheroes and they were still super uncool. It's like, nope,
Yeah.
you've just fucked it.
It's the thing that I kind of equated it to, and I think this is also equally as funny because it also created outrage, but of a different kind, was when they did the Miles Morales Spider-Man storyline. So
What is that? You'll have to explain that. I'm not familiar.
As you know, I'm sure all three of you know, Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
Yes.
Right? Like that is the Spider-Man that most people know. But there are in the Marvel comic book lines alternate universes, different Earths, if you will. And like, for example, I believe the Earth that Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, inhabits is Earth like 616 or something. And then Marvel made an alternate comic book line, something to just like experiment with, called Ultimate. And in that comic book line, they made a Spider-Man who was a Black and Puerto Rican kid from Brooklyn named Miles Morales.
Is this the one that the movie that was really sick?
This is from and in that Spider-Verse was literally that. Right?
Yes, that was sick. That was a very well done.
People love that movie,
expansion on the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, it was awesome. Most people liked it. Now, you wouldn't have known that if you go back in time, because back in the day, people were fucking pissed that they made Spider-Man into a mixed race Black Hispanic kid. They were pissed at that, like just offended. Now, some people are going to be like, oh, it's because they're trying to change Peter Parker and yada yada, and that was fine. This was literally like an alternate universe. It wasn't even like Earth 616, and people were fucking infuriated.
Wait, talking about Enter the Spider-Verse.
Yes, but I'm talking the problems that came from it back in 2000, I think it was like 2011, when they introduced Miles Morales.
Really?
People were so offended by this. And as a Puerto Rican kid, I was like, bro, this is sick. Because look, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. You walk around New York City these days, you got a lot of people that look like me. That's just a fact, right? It's a multicultural society. Don't get me wrong. A lot of white people, a lot of Black people, a lot of Hispanic, Asian. It's the melting pot of America, right? Yeah. And what's so wrong about having a Hispanic kid be Spider-Man? There ain't nothing wrong with that. But people were just infuriated. And then they became further infuriated in 2016 when Marvel was merging the universes because it became too complicated, obviously. So people just weren't able to like follow like all the different storylines, like what connected to what makes sense there. So they did this whole Secret Wars thing, and then they merged universes, and then they revealed that Miles Morales would actually come into the original quote unquote Spider-Man universe, and then Peter Parker would become his mentor. And that was kind of like what you got from the Enter the Spider-Verse movie, right?
Sure.
Because in that movie, I actually, it's hard to tell because I think that movie was the fat Peter Parker was the alternate reality one. Hard to tell. Anyway,
yeah, it was.
Doesn't matter. The point is that was kind of the story, if you will. So people were just infuriated. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because this is nothing like what we're seeing right now, right? Like that thing with Miles Morales. That was it's a representation, but it's one that makes sense. Because if you come to New York, it makes sense. There's a lot of Hispanic, a lot of Black, a lot of multiracial kids walking around, and it's perfectly fine.
Tell you why this feels so bad. It feels like they're trying to capitalize off of a demographic by just, but it's like they haven't even done it well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can have a Marvel character, superhero that identifies as they them. That's fine. But when you make their entire shtick is snowflake and safe space, and they're like when they feel like they've been purposely designed to essentially only appeal to a niche, and they're like it feels like it's almost, there's nothing wrong with tailoring a character to different people, right? There's nothing wrong with giving people more representation, but it feels like it's so forced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it feels just kind of like it's just a way to make money. It's not genuine.
So, for example, one of the characters that they introduced was a Trailblazer, right? And again, uninspiring outfit design aside, Like, it doesn't matter that the character looks, like different from other, from like, let's say the likes of Captain America or something like that. Not everyone needs to fucking look like Captain America, but
Sure.
it was like, the storyline was actually pretty cool. It's like a regular kid scooped up into the world of teenage superhero. But then this is where they lose me. Her magic backpack, which I'm like, okay, but you could probably make this cool, like, because it's a pocket dimension with seemingly infinite space. So that actually can be kind of cool because she can like.
No, you've
No.
created.
Hold on.
You created Dora the fucking Explorer, the superhero.
Fair.
It ain't
But-
cool.
Bren, you watch My Hero, and the girl who creates objects out of her body.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
kind of
cool.
like that,
Yeah, except, but here's where it gets forced again. It's like every single character they've created is trying to hit a specific niche
Yes,
to
and that's the
sell money. Like the backpack woman is saying she claims to get her power from God, but not the God you're thinking of. Like
Yeah.
that is an actual quote. It's like they're like, so what? Like not. What is the God I'm not
and the
thinking
thing that
of?
does suck though is that her backstory is that she's a group home foster kid who's volunteering at a senior center when a mysterious threat shows up and Night Thrasher runs to the rescue, right? And because she helps him, she ends up in the crosshairs of this outlawed law. Like, cool, you have a foster kid who, like, that's Billy Batson, Shazam. He was a
Yeah.
foster kid, and that's a story as old as time itself, and it works out, and it also speaks to thousands upon thousands of kids who are orphans out there. Like, it, hey, all the power to you. It's just some of the details are just like they just don't make any sense. Or better yet, B negative, a living vampire, so kind of like Michael Morbius, because they allude that he's apparently related to Michael Morbius, the new movie coming out with Jared Leto pretty soon. But then they just screwed up his whole bio. He's apparently goth. So they needed to mention that. B negative is the goth kid. When
The
he
goth
was a
kid.
baby, he got a rogue life-saving blood transfusion, we assume, from Michael Morbius, and now he's very similar look and very similar vampire powers. B negative ages like a regular person, or does he? And he definitely drinks blood, or does
Or
he?
does he?
But the thing that
Is that a real description
Yeah,
of them?
this
It
is a real
says, or
description.
does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who's writing these? That's what they. I mean, it's just mad.
This is on the Marvel like blog, and then
It sounds like a kid with a writing project.
yeah, and then the bigger one was Snowflake and Safe Space. I think those are the two that I think have probably bothered the most, whether you're on the left or you're on the right. People on the left are annoyed by it because it's like you're trying to represent people, but you're just doing it in a completely like just terrible way. And then people on the right obviously are just mad because they don't want their stuff changed. So yeah, like for example, Safe Space's power is that it's so bad. It's okay. I'm gonna see if I can find this here real fast because it's
Safe
dumb.
Safe Space is a big, burly, sort of stereotypical jock. Well, no.
Okay, I got the power. So he apparently can protect people with a force field, but he can only protect people when they're near him.
Sure.
So he can't even do anything if he's like in
He
one-on-one
can
combat.
only trigger them if he's protecting somebody else.
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't sound too terrible, though.
No, okay, so you mean to tell me that isn't a dumb power, but the girl that can materialize anything out of her backpack is a dumb power?
Yeah, that's a dumb power because the way you get
How?
to the power is stupid.
Well, you're gonna
It's-
pull it out of your backpack.
Yeah, it's just there are the idea of a superhero is supposed to be like
But he can only
aspirational
create
as
force
well.
fields and trigger them if he's protecting somebody else.
But that's cool. That has like an identity. It's like, okay, he's like the defender guy,
Okay.
He's like looking out for his mates.
Bro,
that kind of
if
thing.
you've seen this dude, he does not.
Oh
look
no,
like
the
defender
design of the
guy.
character is absolutely appalling. Just unbelievable. Like a 10-year-old with a sketchbook.
Yeah.
But the at least I don't know. I mean, the entire
So,
generally in writing, someone's identity, their entire summation of their being should not just be one thing. that you have decided it would be cool for this political reason to make it this one thing. That does not make a character. The character should be something, and then their identity, their look, their whatever should be kind of secondary to that. If you make a character and their entire thing is just how they look as well, you made like Ugly Man, and his superpower is he's so ugly he scares people to death or something. Be a terrible character because your entire personality is the one thing about how you look. Like it's exactly the.
Well, don't talk about Swamp Thing like that. Don't talk about Swamp Thing like that. That's
bro. I don't understand how this got through.
Yeah,
you know
well,
I mean?
you know, and then that video, that reaction video you were saying was like, you know, this guy was basically saying how like Marvel is going down this path of trying to appeal to like the SJWs and stuff.
Well, it
like
does
that.
definitely scream of wokeness, though, doesn't it?
Yes,
Naming
it
your
certainly
character
does.
safe, but it doesn't even make sense as well because the argument that they're going for is okay. We're trying to make superheroes for people who don't identify with the current amount of superheroes. You know, like okay, I don't particularly identify to Captain America. All right, so maybe I don't enjoy him as much. Would I enjoy someone with a big fat forehead who was super uncool but actually did really fun things? Yeah, maybe I would identify with that a little bit more. So maybe the root reasoning is okay. But if you go too extreme, if you literally make a character that just has a big fat forehead, then you're only appealing to people who identify with having a big fat forehead. So if you make your characters too niche as like trying to represent everybody, you're better off just making them generally appealing to as many people as you can and trying not to exclude people. If you try and narrow in on representing one tiny portion of the population to the exclusion of everybody else, you're actually making the character less appealing to most people. And to most people that have been excluded by the normal comic book people.
And then it also doesn't help too that Johnny, if you bring up the image in that Marvel.com article, Johnny's just been there this whole time as we've just been.
Sorry, I'm not a big Marvel guy.
If you look at the image,
no,
just look at the actual image that says the New Warriors on it. If you look at that, the comic book where it has all the characters on it. Here's my thing. This is my issue. If you look at that image, they're supposed to be twins, as in brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't look like brother and sister embrace.
That's quite a seductive embrace, you know.
Yeah, and that's why
maybe they're trying to appeal to people who, you know, they get a little bit weird with their siblings, you know.
Oh no, Bren.
Maybe that's the case.
And that's why I actually stopped watching that anime on Netflix. I think it's called Game Over or something.
What? No Game, No Life?
Or it was a No Game, No Life.
No Game, No Life.
Yeah. Because, dude, that thing, like the brother and the sister was so suspect, bro. And I was like, nah, I'm okay. I got enough anime to watch. I'm watching Hunter x Hunter right now. Like, I'm good. And I just felt like maybe I just missed the mark on that.
I was tweeting out today.
I'm not the market for it.
I was thinking about rewatching the entirety of Game of Thrones because we're quarantined and I'm bored and I don't know what to do with myself. Go back to some classics, you know. Rewatch all of Star Wars. I don't know.
Some great HBO series.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Should we make some recommendations for the listeners?
I just watched Hunters on Amazon.
I got the Twitch ad all the time.
Is that the one about Nazis?
The Nazi hunting one? That one, it was pretty good.
I haven't watched
liked
it. Yeah, I gotta watch it though.
I feel like everyone it was very Tarantino-like, but it was I enjoyed it, you know, for what it was. And and Altered Carbon. Gotta watch.
Really, you liked Altered Carbon?
I liked Altered Carbon.
So season 1 I loved because it reminded me a lot of Blade. I love Blade Runner.
Wait, there's a season 2?
Movies.
Yeah, there's a season 2
with Anthony Mackie. Just came out.
For real? Just came out?
Yeah.
No.
And I liked Altered Carbon season 1. Season 2 were like 2-3 episodes or 4 episodes in, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's good. It's fun. It's fun to watch. But man, the charm of season 1 was so good.
You don't think this is good?
I think it's good. It's like season 1 though. Right now, at where I'm at in the show, season 1 is better than season 2. But again, talk to me when I've completed Altered Carbon, and then I'll give you my final.
Seems like people agree with you. Actually, I'm looking at the ratings for the episodes. Interesting.
Because
I like.
season 1 just had like a charm to it. The main character, Joel Kinnaman, he wasn't like a. I tried to explain this to Cynthia. It was like, you know, now I really hope Altered Carbon doesn't go down this path of like, 'cause you have to watch the show. Oh wait, you watch Everyone's watched Altered Carbon, I'm assuming.
I watched a bit of it. I haven't watched all of it. I actually didn't particularly enjoy it that much, so I didn't carry on.
Well, you know the concept of like, you know,
Yes, I
they're
know the
all
concept.
in like they're in sleeves and they have these chips that are in their back, and that's where their spirit, quote unquote, is in. So now it just feels like every season of Altered Carbon just going to be how can they get a famous actor to play Takeshi Kovacs. That's how it feels like to me, which is like wasn't really the point and the reason why I was watching it. I was watching it because you had this like dope ass world. I'm not watching it because Anthony Mackie's in it. I like Anthony Mackie, but I'm not like running to watch this show because he's in it, you know? So I kind of just wish that they didn't do that. And it seems like that's the direction they're going in. But whatever. We'll see what happens if they do a season 3.
Oh boy.
What about you, Johnny? What are you watching?
What I'm watching? Oh my god, I don't watch TV shows. That's the problem. So I was mostly recommending you guys. I watched this show. It's like a Japanese detective show that plays out in. Shut the hell up.
Sorry.
I don't know.
When a sentence begins with, I don't really watch TV, I knew it was going to go somewhere in the direction I was going to watch something Japanese. I knew that was the end result.
It's on Netflix and it's called Giri Haji or something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's a British television series actually, which premiered on BBC Two. And it's about this Japanese guy who is a police detective in Japan, and they like run into like the Yakuza and shit, and then he has to travel to London because the Yakuza are going crazy that someone got killed with like some Yakuza sword or some shit. And it's just, look, I don't watch a lot of shows, a lot of movies. I found this pretty cool. I found this pretty cool. So it's called Giri Haji. Check it out if you like crime TV shows or whatever. Okay. And I like the like Japanese touch on it, you know, like it's a cool culture. So it was pretty cool.
I've actually been I've kind of been AFK in this conversation because I just assumed that I didn't have anything to contribute to it, and then I just realized that I've actually been a shit ton of TV recently and some really good TV too. So I surprisingly I do have things to contribute to this.
Are you like a TV connoisseur? Are you like you watch a TV show and you try to like break down the logic? I watched like Westworld episode 1, like season 3, and people are like hating it. Yeah. I didn't really mind it. Like the logic doesn't make sense at all the time, but it's like cool watch. I don't know.
I'm rewatching Westworld at the moment to catch up with it because I remember that Westworld was just absolute nonsense once it got like halfway through season 2, and I want to try and figure out like where it even got. You know, like how bad did the nonsense get so that I need to align my brain while I watch season 3.
Yeah.
But no, the TV that I've been watching is a bunch of stuff that Beth's been recommending me, and it's a lot of very well done documentaries on HBO. And it's not the kind of documentary where it just kind of slowly takes you through everything. There's a lot of, it's been so many years since I've watched any well done documentaries that are not BBC ones. And the style is very different in America, where there's a lot of recreation, not overly dramatizing, but the storylines are very good that go all the way through. And so the first one was the HBO one on the McDonald's monopoly fraud. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I didn't see it, but I've heard of it.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. Like a really, really good series. And the thing is, there are so many bonkers stories out there in the world that you can read a Wikipedia article or something like that about, and you're like, wow, that story is wild. And then when you have it slowly unveiled to you, and you meet the people that were involved with it and hear their stories and get to see them speak and talk about their families and stuff like that, it hits you in a different way as well. It's like you're seeing the people and the mental space that they were in when they made these decisions to do either horrific or they were like forced to do things, etc. Anyway, that's a fantastic one. The McDonald's monopoly fraud, really, really good. And then The Jinx, which is a story about the Durst family, who specifically the youngest son of the Durst family, who was accused of 3 different murders. And the Durst family owns is one of the 5 richest real estate families in New York. They own skyscrapers in Manhattan.
Yep.
And so this millionaire real estate heir was accused of murder, or was not accused of murdering his wife. His wife went missing in 1982, and he was a prime suspect, but they could never pin anything on him. And then his best friend died years later, and then 30 years later, he was accused of the murder of his next door neighbor, and they found a dismembered body just floating in the lake in Texas, where he got away with them all.
Holy
And
crap.
it goes through everything, and they interview him at the end, and they catch him on tape in the interview talking about the murder.
Oh,
What?
you just cut out.
You're cutting out. Your internet's dying.
So wait, they
Oh.
caught him on tape talking about the murder.
No.
He's dead. His internet's gone. Oh no. Not like
I'm
this.
not gonna lie, all of that was so engaging. I was like in it. You know, I was in it.
Well, now we'll never
Do you
know.
think the government cut his internet?
Dude, maybe Robert Durst did, dude. Maybe Robert Durst. Maybe he's still around. That's wild. Well, you know, there's some good stuff out there for sure. So before we close out, because Josh's internet is basically gone.
Yeah.
And it's frozen at the best possible moment.
I'm just saying, like, if he goes, then the entire overlay is gonna mess up. So
Sure. So we just got to leave this and close this thing out quickly. We obviously thank you all so much for listening, and I think that's just a good place to close it. How are we doing on time there, John?
we're
at?
116.
Oh, 116, perfect. So there you go. So
We wanted to talk about some Warzone and some other stuff, but we'll leave
I'm just
that.
gonna say play
We
Call of
talked
Duty
about
Warzone.
We talked about it.
Alright.
We'll talk about we'll talk about it next week. Who
Yeah.
knows? But yeah, if you guys have any thoughts, you know, your hot takes, feel free to let us know in the YouTube comments. I know I scroll through there and give it a listen. So
I'm dying at Josh's frozen camera.
Me
It's
too.
looking lower to the down. It's like
it's honestly fantastic.
Okay.
So there he is. He's back.
He's back.
Hey!
Oh,
wow.
he's alive.
My laptop ran out of battery.
So we're
Oh my.
so we're
Forgot to
closing
plug
out
it in,
the
didn't
show.
I?
We're closing out the show because we're at an hour and 16. But yeah, so make sure you give us some comments on YouTube. There have been some really, really good ones. Like, for example, Ethan Wang said, Bren is going to die. The avocado will not protect him forever.
Oh.
That was a really funny one. There was also a lot of conversation about names, which there is a person who apparently has a friend. Jacob Mosley says that his friend's name is Theodore William Radcliffe the Sixth.
That's pretty dope.
It's actually a pretty epic name, so shout out to you. So yeah, leave us a comment on there, and we'll be sure to read it next week. Also, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, as well as follow us on Spotify. Check us out on any and all podcasting platforms. If you're watching this live on Sideshow's channel, thank you so much, and thank you for giving Sideshow money. And you know, because Lord knows he needs it. I mean, look at his hair. The boy needs a haircut.
Bro,
So if
we
you're-
haven't run things live on my channel in months, Goldenboy.
We
run them as-
haven't.
We run them as premieres on YouTube, you absolute boomer.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
You fool.
So never mind. If you're not watching this on Sideshow's channel, good job. But still, donate to Sideshow because that boy needs a haircut. So does Bren.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with quarantine. I haven't.
Who's cutting it?
It's unruly, and I got a cast this weekend.
Bren,
camera.
how much money, how many subs would it take for you to just cut your own hair live?
Oh, you know, Dogman shaved all of his hair off.
Yeah.
He called it the #quarantine challenge, but I think he was just
Yeah.
losing his mind.
Oh my. And then, oh my god,
Wait,
that
wait,
was
is there really a
borderline
challenge?
cringe. So he
no,
shaved
there's
his
no
head,
challenge. He just invented the challenge.
and then he tagged like the most popular streamers in the world and was like, "Hey, I made up this challenge where you shave your head." At Shroud, at Tim the Tatman, join me and shave your head. It's like, sorry, Dogman, don't think that's happening, but worth
I
the
can,
effort.
that's
I can
happening for
respect. I can respect the reach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I respect it. Well, you know,
Fantastic.
don't think
fantastic.
Shroud is gonna shave his head, but
No, definitely not.
Oh,
But
well.
there you go.
They'll put the kid down.
Yeah, right. But, don't ruin his dreams.
Exactly.
Don't
Sorry.
be that guy.
I'm sorry.
Don't be that guy. All right, folks. That's going to do it for us this week. Thank you so much for checking it out. If you have any comments, already know, do all the things. Follow us on social media. If you're talking about the podcast, use the hashtag #4heads, and we'll see you next week. You guys have a good one. Be safe. Stay clean. Wash your damn hands. Bye. Peace.
See ya.
See ya.